Hi everybody. I recently completed a little challenge I set for myself. On Easter weekend I did a weekend edition challenge. I wanted to see if I could build a weekend edition kit by Eduard in a weekend. So this is the kit I did right here, the Nieuport 11. And Eduard weekend editions, they call them that because they're pretty simple. They don't have the photo etch, they don't have resin parts, so they are bare bones Eduard kits. And I've always wondered, well, is it possible to actually do it in the weekend? And I'll show my video log in a minute, but I'll go through what's in the box first here. So you have a really nice instruction booklet printed on really nice glossy paper with really good descriptions of what you're doing. Great detail on the assembly process, with only one flaw that I found as I was building, and I'll show it to you here. On this side, the Nieuport 11 has a gun on the top wing, and it shows you two ways of setting up that gun, but it says on here, marking for the B set only. It turns out that I was making the A pattern, this one here, this A scheme, and it has a gun, but the instructions don't cover that one. I think it may have been a confusion on here, I'm not sure, but I did it my own way, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Anyway, it's got great detail, a good paint guide to it, shows you really easily how to make it. Comes with a nice set of decals. This, by the way, is another Nieuport 11 kit, because, you know, why not have a whole bunch of them? And here's what the sprues look like. There's two sprues in the bag here. I'll open up and show you. They have these really nice bags that you can open and reseal. And the molding on these is pretty good. There's a little tiny bag with the windscreen in it. And then I've had this one open before because I used some of the parts in this for another kit. I bought it to build a Nieuport 16 kit, which is very similar to the Nieuport 11, and I was going to be using some pieces of it, but I also took some, see, I have rockets here. I took some of those rocket parts to make something else, actually a landing gear for another airplane. But anyway, really nice molding. Things look really good on here. Get my ugly face out of the way so you can see the parts. There we go. And the other tree has the wings and the fuselage halves. Really good inside. It's got nice positive mounting points on the inside for all the small details, which unfortunately are really hard to see when you do the real thing. And it actually has a figure if you want, and it's got 3 cowling options. And there's your floor base and instrument panel and all these little bits and bobs, wheels. So that's it. Nothing else. No photo etch parts. So anyway, I made a little video log of my build process, and we'll go into that, and then I'll show you the finished product. It is Friday, April 10th. It is about 6:23 in the evening, approximately, and I am about to start my weekend edition challenge with the Nieuport 11 here. So, let's open the box up. As you can see, nothing is open yet. Got our decals there, our instructions, all the parts are still in their bag. So my goal is to have this whole kit painted, assembled, completed, that includes rigging and everything else, by Sunday at midnight. And I will be finishing it to look like this. So, nice fun bright color scheme. I've built one of these before, and I found it went together really nicely. I wasn't going for time that time, but I figured this would be a good place to start for a weekend build, since it's a weekend edition. I've always wondered if you can actually do one of these kits in a weekend, and we'll find out now. So I will probably get started. I'm going to paint on the sprues for the most part, with a couple of exceptions. And hopefully I'll get the bulk of the painting done before late tonight. I'm going to add the color part of the fuselage later. I'm mostly going to be doing the inside coloring and things like the engines and the struts and those kind of things. The exterior of the fuselage will get painted after it's assembled for simplicity's sake, and that gives me a chance to patch anything. I don't think there's going to be gap issues on the fuselage seam, but just in case, then I'm covered. So anyway, I will update again when some progress has been made. Hello everybody. It is 3:07 in the afternoon on Saturday the 11th, and look at that, we're done already. No, I'm kidding. This is actually the first Nieuport 11 I did, the first Eduard Nieuport 11. It'll look a lot like this, but this one's painted up to look like one from the old Rheinbeck Airdrome when it first came out in 1991. As you can tell, my son's come along to help me out. Hey Bowen, how are you?
But I didn't help you paint your airplane.
You don't have to help me paint the airplane, that's okay.
I didn't help you paint the airplane.
So, anyway, this is as far as I've made it. The whole thing is not going to be white. I'm just putting white down as a base coat. It's also a white. The white has primer in it, which is nice. It's going to be from about that. Can you see that line? There's the line. From that line forward is going to be blue. And we'll use this nice, to me, a flat blue. It's got a nice tone to it. It's a little darker than some pictures show it, but that's okay. I like it. And it's based on black and white pictures, so no one can argue with me. And the back is going to be, to me, a flat red. Once it's all painted the way I want it, it's going to get a coat of gloss clear. The wings need another coat of cleared up linen before I go any further. No, you didn't help me paint though, that's true. Okay?
I will help you paint.
Maybe later you can help me paint, we'll see. Alright, so anyway, let's go through what I've got done so far. So I've got the entire inside done. All the interior stuff is done, that's the hard part. And the saddest part is that you never see it, unless you're really, really looking carefully. So I've got the fuselage put together. After I get the fuselage painted the way I want it, I'll start adding on the other parts here. I will probably paint the rudder, like I did on this one. This one was a painted rudder, and it comes out a little better. You don't get the gap of the decals trying to come together on the top. So that's what I'll be doing there. And after I get the wings sorted and cleared, I will put on the roundels, because you have to put them on before you put your struts on, because the struts go right through where they are, as it is. And the engine, I want to show you the engine. I think, in my personal opinion, that engine, which is a Larone 80 horse, Larone 9C it's called, because it's 9 cylinders and it's the C model of that engine. It's probably the most beautiful airplane engine ever made. It's just with those copper intake pipes and the shiny chrome engine cover, it's just gorgeous. So what I'm going to do with it, you can see I've got my intake pipes there and my chrome cover, and on this screw is cylinders, and on the back there's a gap. The mounting plate, this little guy, actually this mounts through the engine and through the front cover, and the prop goes on the tip of this long end here, right there. One of the problems with this Eduard kit, which isn't really a problem, it's just because it's very small, there's no push rods. Push rod would go from, if I get my finger on here, from in between the intake pipes for each cylinder. It basically runs straight up the length of the cylinder to where the valves are at the top there. Boy, that's terrible framing there. But anyway, from the cover to the tip, there'd be a push rod. I did this on my Cadron and it worked really well, so I'm going to do it again on this one. I'm going to use elastic thread. You can see it there. And it works out really nice. Comes out super clean. You're going to use a red Sharpie? Oh, very nice. All right. So I'm going to put my push rods on the engine, which I can do while I wait for this fuselage to dry, because I can't really put any color on it until the white is finished. So once that's done, I'll get all the color on it, and then I can mount the wings, or at least the bottom wing, on. And then I'll start putting all this all together. And the great thing about the Nieuport 11 kit that I've found compared to other biplanes
Cover off.
is, I'll use the one I got finished to show you, these front wing struts are vertical. They're super easy to mount because you know you've got them right if they're vertical. You measure the distance on the wing holes from here to here and make sure your tops are the same length, and it almost always works out perfect. I did a Nieuport 17 too. I had no problem with that either. It's set up the same way. So you have two vertical struts on the front, and well, let's see if you can see it on the back there. The back is a inverted V. Can we see it straight through? Yes. So an inverted V. So a very easy setup for mounting your top wing, your K-beam struts here. The V struts you put on the top wing first, get them dry. They're vertical as well. Everything's dry. You mount the top wing onto the center struts that are mounted on the fuselage already. You mount the V struts on the wing and just pop it into place on the bottom wing. Perfect. And look, on this one, if you look at it, I'll turn it just right. You can see that the wing is lined up just right the whole way across, no problem. It's hard to tell because I'm not perfectly centered over it. Like that. It's very, very easy. It's the easiest biplane ever put together, except for those Stearmans. Those are pretty easy too. But anyway, I'm going to get my top wing mounted after I get all this done. I'm going to clear everything, gloss clear. I've got to do my ailerons. This is a bit of a tricky part. So I've got these aileron torque tubes. And once that's done, then I've got to figure out what the gun mount is. The markings and the instructions are weird because it says B only and B only, and they're opposite of each other. So one of them is A, I just don't know which one. I'll figure it out, I'll do some research. So I'll get my gun mounted and the wheels and my prop, then I'll rig it, and I'll be done. I think I'm going to make it. So I'm going to do a lot more work on it tonight after the kids go to bed and the paint is cured. We'll have a chance to put the color on it. And here's another tricky bit. The control horns for the elevators and rudder are super tiny. Which sprue are they on? Oh, here they are. Okay. Look how tiny these are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So 2 for the rudder, and then 4 for the elevators. And I have found, every time I built a kit from Eduard trying to put them on, I always try to hold them in place with the tweezers, or try to carry them where I need to with the tweezers, and they go flying off into the middle of nowhere and no one can ever find them again. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't go foul on me, and I can get them in place and rigged. I'm going to mount them before I paint anything, because I want to get a stronger mount. But anyway, that's my plan. So I am at this point, and I've got to get through here before tomorrow midnight. I think we've got it. I think I'm going to make it. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy your Easter. All right. Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday the 12th, almost 8 in the morning. I have until midnight tonight to finish this, and I am getting pretty close. Got our bottom wing on. I've got to do the aluminum cowling and a couple other bits on here. These bits are still white because I'm going to scrape them clear to put the struts in. And I'm going to give another couple coats of red. The red was coming through a little thin, so I'm going to do a little bit more red. Then I'm going to gloss clear the whole thing. Got to do the top wing too. Got my rudder started. I think I'm just going to use the decals in the interest of time, because I'm finding that the paint has been very slow to dry. And I still have to do my wheels, but that's no big deal. I've saved that towards the end because that's a fairly quick thing and not a big deal. And then it's assembling it and rigging it. Speaking of rigging, I used the same stuff I rig with on the engine here. You can see those little lines on the cylinders. Those are the push rods I made from elastic thread. If you look on my old one, there's no push rods. I hadn't tried that technique yet. In fact, you can see I didn't even rig this one. So I usually don't rig 1/48 just out of my own sanity. But I've started to do it with the elastic thread. It's working pretty nicely. So I used that stuff to make some push rods. Kind of realistic looking, kind of. And then I have, for rigging the airplane, this Easy Line Fine Blue. French airplanes used bluish colored lines, so this is perfect for it. And I've got more than enough to get the airplane finished. So that'll be the last step, getting all the rigging in place, and then she'll be done. So we'll see if I make it before midnight tonight. Enjoy your Easter, everybody. Hello, everybody. It is 4:51 in the afternoon on Sunday. I have until midnight to finish this, and as you can see, it's getting pretty close. I've got the bulk of the assembly done. I've got to get the wheels on. I've got to do some touch-up paints here and there, some decal work, decal work, depending on how you want to say it. Paint my gun, mount the prop. I'm working on the wheels right now, and let me show you a little trick that I've got here. So what I've done to make wheel painting easier is I've taken toothpicks, I chop the end to the point where it'll fit into the back of a wheel like that, and then I spin it. I need another hand in order to hold up my brush, but anyway, I hold the brush steady, and I hold the wheel up to the brush, and I just slowly turn it, and that lets me get the tire painted all the way around without smearing the center of the wheel there. Works out pretty nicely. And then to do the back side, just flip it over, do the same trick. Spin the tire slowly against the brush, make a nice clean tire without any grossness on it. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, I've got one more of those to do, and then I'll mount those, put the prop on, and then it's literally just touch-up paint. It's the last couple decals there. I got to do my lowering roundels. I've got to do the marks on the sides. I've got to do my footstep on there. I'm going to do the leather around the cockpit there, the padding. A couple touch-up on the rudder, because anytime I've done rudder decals, it always looks weird. They never quite line up right. And these Eduard decals are super sticky, so if they're not exactly where you want them the second they touch the plastic, they're never moving again. I almost binned them and found another rudder to do it, but kind of made it work. So anyway, we are going to make it. I've got a little bit under 6 hours to go, and I don't see this as 6 hours worth of work. So I'll get the wheels on, let everything dry, put my decals on, and then rig it. And then we are done. Alright, everybody, here we are. Let's see what time it is. 5:06 p.m. on Sunday the 12th. And look at this. I've got all of the parts on. There's nothing left to add. I've got the gun and its mount. I've got the aileron rods there. I've got the tail skid. The wheels are on. Propeller. Everything is where it needs to be. All that remains is touch-up paints for like that spot on the propeller there where it was on the sprue. Decals, decals, whatever you want to call them. And the rigging. We are going to make it. Hello, everyone. It's about 9:17 in the evening, I think. Yeah, 9:17 is what I think it just said. Anyway, I'm working on my rigging. I've got all my paint and everything taken care of, all my touch-ups. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking a piece of the elastic thread, and I put a little toothpick dab of super glue at one joint, leave it to dry for a little while, leave it kind of, see how I have this one loose hanging here. And what I do is I bring it over to the joint, see if I can do it there, and then I'll cut it about half a centimeter short of touching there. That gives me enough room for it to stretch and look taut, like this one, but not so stretched that it has tension on there all the time. It's just enough tension to keep it straight. I nip it off, I put a dab of glue down here on the joint, and then I use a little bit of this stuff here, the Instaset. I've got it sprayed into a little cup here, and I brush a little tiny bit onto the end of the wire, onto the end of the elastic, and then I use tweezers and I press the end of the elastic into the super glue dab, and I hold it for about 5 to 10 seconds, and that gives the accelerator there, CA accelerator, gives it a chance to harden the glue, and then when you let go of the line with the tweezers, it just comes up top like that. You can see I've done this one up here, done this one up here. I have a couple waiting. I have that flying wire that goes from the fuselage up to the top of the V-strut in the back. So that one's waiting. I have this side, that one's waiting too, just trying. I've done my rear control cables for the elevators. I've done the rudder ones too, but they're pretty hard to see, tiny. So there it is. I used a thicker line for the cables, and I might run up and down them with a silver Sharpie to make them show up a little more, although they do show up pretty well. They get a good look of their own. And then these flying wires are thinner, just like they would have been on the real thing. So anyway, I've got a few lines left to throw on here, and not too bad. We'll be done in no time. Definitely gonna make it. It's been a lot of fun doing this. A lot of work, but a lot of fun. Okay, show you when it's done. All right, everybody. There it sits. Eduard 148th Nieuport 11. The weekend edition. Completed in a weekend. I started on Friday, somewhere around, I think it was like 6:40 p.m. I gave myself from 5 p.m. Friday to midnight Sunday, and right now it is Sunday at 9:49 p.m. So I would say I've made it. It's rigged, it's painted, all the touch-ups are done, everything's where it needs to be. Is it my greatest work? No, not by a long shot. Any of the problems I ran into were of my own fault. Rushing paint, trying to get things done before it was dry. I did a lot of touch-ups and redos that normally I wouldn't have to do because I'd be waiting, but I didn't know how long I was going to have to give myself to get all this done. But the rigging went easily, everything went on, no problem at all. Guns in place, control lines are in place, and I think it looks pretty nice. I went with this kit as my weekend kit because the rigging lines on this are way simpler than something like this one here. This is my Copper State Models Cadron G4, also 148th. It's a twin boom French bomber, and this has somewhere around, oh, it's over 200 lines. I don't remember how many it is exactly. It takes forever, makes you go cross-eyed. A couple of them I popped loose. I might try to fix them before I put it back on the shelf. But this one, 16. Much quicker, much easier. Very happy with it. And I think I could do it again better, knowing what I know now from doing it this way. So, it can be done, guys. Give it a try. Have a great weekend. Hope you had a good Easter. And I'll be sharing my other clips all put together into a YouTube montage of everything I've done. And I'll throw some pictures up on the website too. Have a good one. Alright, so here's the finished product. And I won't ramble on about it because I already did. But it's not my greatest work ever. There's some silly mistakes I made on it. Some painting errors I made. Next time, I won't use a rattle can enamel for my base coat because it takes too long to dry. I won't rush. I'll let things properly dry, make sure they're ready to go. But this was fun. It was a good time. It wasn't, I wasn't out to make the greatest kit ever. I wanted to see if I could actually build one from start to finish in a weekend, and I did. So that was rewarding. It was nice. And it kind of shook things up because I was in a funk from working on other things, and so that's off to the side, and I've got a couple other things I'm working on to finish up right now, and so I'll give you a quick bench tour before the end of it here. The one that's on the go most right now is this Tiger Moth. It's an old smear kit. I've just put on decals that I made myself there for the markings and the registration numbers and stuff like that. Roundels and the rudder stripes I painted by hand because I couldn't find any decals the right size for it. So that was fun. Almost done. I need to mount the top wing and then rig it, so then that was good. And then when I rig that one, I'll rig my steerman. This has been waiting to be rigged for a little while, so just that needs a couple paint touch-ups and then the rigging. I'm repairing my bulldozer. I'm not going to pick up the whole thing because it's not very happy right now, but I had to reattach these parts. So the AMT bulldozer is underway. That didn't survive the move very well. What else do I have going on here? Oh, I've got this. This is a long-standing project. This is part of a group build that I never finished. It's going to be a Kenworth tractor trailer. It goes with the bulldozer. It's the truck, trailer, bulldozer combo. So eventually I'll get back to this, but that's where I am right now. And in terms of starting new stuff, I'm probably going to start this next. So this will be a good time. Alright. So, everyone, stay healthy, have fun, keep yourself sane, have a good one.